We're going to invite now our Reimagine Learning Plan update. And that is Miss Jazz Parks, Assistant Superintendent Jazz Parks, and Assistant Superintendent Don Linden. We also have joining us Dr. Marian Fedician, who will be participating in this update also. This extended continuity of learning plan is really about how we will deliver instruction. And trustees, as you know, the plan is 252 pages. It's quite lengthy, but what we try to do at each meeting is to highlight kind of the adjustments or adaptations that we're making, the updates. And so at this time, go ahead. And then we'll move into our health update, and then we'll come back to wrap things up together.
Good evening, President Johnson, trustees, and Superintendent Swift. It's our pleasure to be with you this evening, sharing another fall update about teaching and learning. And I think that I speak for Ms. Parks and Dr. Fedician when I say we echo the words that Trustee Nelson just shared, that while we know that this is not a perfect situation, we do know that there's a lot of really excellent work happening, and we're in a continuous state of improvement, looking to improve service and supports to families each and every day. And so you'll see in this presentation a little bit about those supports and also a little celebration of the great work of the teaching team in the Ann Arbor Public Schools and how hard they've been working. So I think I will turn this over to my colleague, Ms. Parks.
Thank you, Ms. Linden. And thank you, trustees, for providing us an opportunity to share an update with to you and our community. We're going to talk a little bit this evening about some of our student engagement and attendance rates. We're also going to share with you some Schoology design for teaching and learning, an update around that and the framework that we're using there. And then we're going to also talk about some of the supports that we've built in for our special education students or students who receive special education services. We're going to provide an update on our technology access, and we're going to highlight some of the virtual teaching and learning that's going on in our classrooms. And we're going to profile some of our vocal and instrumental music classes, as well as some of our content area classes in the middle school and elementary school. And then we will end with providing an update on our digital library. So to that end, the next slide. If you recall this particular slide from last time, trustees, this just kind of outlines the state requirements around reporting student engagement. And for the purposes of student engagement, that's a two-way interaction between a student and teacher at least 2 times a week. And the next slide here will give you our updated student engagement rates. We've added weeks 6 and 7 since the last time we were able to share this update with you. And what you'll see there in the all students column, which is that first column with percentages, is that we're about 95%. So we're holding steady in the mid 95% range for student engagement rates. Then we go into the next update around daily attendance. And so our daily attendance monitoring measures are more rigorous than the state required student engagement measures. And so to that end, we are working in real time to follow up with students and families who are not attending school every single day. And then we are trying to figure out what the need is around getting them engaged. And so the next chart that you will see are our daily attendance rates. Again, so this is daily attendance every day, documenting students who are present in class. And that first column, again, is all students at that 90% mark. And then you'll see the subsequent columns after that break down by level the attendance rates for elementary, middle, and high school students. Again, it's just a recap of the language that talks about the requirements for what constitutes student engagement. And you have seen that language before that we've shared with you in prior presentations. So now to talk about some of our student outreach and engagement supports. as Dr. Swift shared with you in her introduction, our virtual small group supports focus on making sure we can wrap around students academically, socially, and in a mental health perspective when that's needed as well. And so to that end, we do have virtual small groups that focus with students on tutoring, things like helping them to stay organized. We've also moved into connecting small groups of students together just for engagement and fun and connectivity over lunchtime, during small group time, just so that they can have some of those social connections in those small groups in our virtual setting as well. We've talked before about the partnerships that we have with our community centers, and we continue to engage and partner with them to wrap around and support our families who live in the areas that our neighborhood community centers serve, so that we can make sure that we're working in partnership with them to fully support families, getting them connected, helping them with technology needs, helping them with getting their students engaged. So we continue to do that great work as well. We are engaging with parents directly in real time, again, when students are not attending class. And we're finding out lots of things about why students may not be engaged at the onset of a school day. And so we're trying to go in and mitigate some of those reasons. In meeting with my intervention specialist team, they're dropping off alarm clocks to porches, and they're using that as an opportunity to have the student come outside in a safe and socially distanced way and talk to them about the importance of being responsible for getting up, getting to class and logging in, and being there and present and engaged. And they're also using that as an opportunity to talk with parents, giving parents some tips on what they may be able to do to get their student up and engaged in the mornings as well. We are serving as a bridge to remedy those technology needs that are causing some barriers to attendance and engagement. And then as we start to look at the hybrid phase of our learning for our students, we are going to have more frequent in-person supports for our students who are most at risk when we get to that hybrid phase of learning. So our counselors and staff are following up daily in regards to student-specific needs around, again, mental health, those social needs and those academic needs, but also the basic needs as well. So we have school teams who are using PTSO funds and building funds to purchase gift cards that they then turn around and drive to families' homes and drop off to help and assist with clothing or groceries. They are picking up and delivering pizzas and food on the weekends and things of that nature. So just that we can make sure not only are we attending to our students' academic needs, but we're also attending to some of those social and basic needs as well. So that's where some of our in-person wellness and attendance checks come in. I alluded to that a little bit in talking about some of our intervention specialist team members dropping off alarm clocks, using that as an opportunity to do wellness checks. We have our supply kit materials that some of our school teams are delivering straight to family homes, and they're using that as an opportunity to connect with students and families as well. And some of those supplies that they're taking are around both the tech items that we know our students need to be able to engage in learning, but also some of those non-tech items as well, like backpacks and calming kits, little kits that have fidgets in there, and things that students can use, manipulatives and sensory items that students can use so that they can kind of get those fidgets out and be able to kind of focus in the virtual setting. So we are delivering some of those items right to students' homes. Our counselors, our social workers, and our school psychologists collaborate weekly with teams district-wide to provide additional supports to staff, students, and families in the community. And we're doing that through some engagement with some additional community partners, Washtenaw Area Council for Children, the peer-to-peer depression awareness through the University of Michigan Depression Center, Ellie's Place, Girls Group, and we also have our AAPS Parent Support Group that we are using to provide additional supports to our families as well. We know we're not with our students 24/7. So we have been, as much as we can, sharing the hotline for Washtenaw County Cares support line, because that is a 24/7 support hotline for families to be able to access if they're in need if they are in need of support. So we are sharing that broadly and widely with our families to make sure that they have that access for times that we're not there directly to engage and support them. We're also establishing connecting together groups. And these are groups that meet twice a month, and they're drop-in groups that will support AAPS parents and guardians around connecting with other parents to get ideas and support for how we face the challenge in this virtual environment around supporting each other and supporting our students. And that group meets twice per month. You see there the second Tuesday and the fourth Thursday of every month. We also have groups that are being established through our district SEL committee. And to that end, we have one group coming up the very first part of November where our elementary intervention specialist and our elementary coordinator for math are doing a support group webinar for parents to help them with some strategies that they can use to work with their elementary age students in math. And then the following week, they're going to do the same thing for strategies to help parents whose students are in secondary, at the secondary level, with math. So we're trying to have as many opportunities and think of as many opportunities and ways as we can of connecting with families, because our most important thing that we do is to reach out to families and be flexible with them and help them to know that they are wanted and welcomed and supported, and that we are here to figure out and remain committed to supporting the needs that they have right now. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Fedishin at this particular slide.
Thank you very much, Ms. Parks, and good evening, trustees and community. We wanted to talk a bit about, again, our student outreach and engagement supports. And we're looking at not only our general education supports, but also what supports do we have in place for our students with special needs. One of the things that we're doing is pushing in support into regular education classrooms to help our students support access and understanding of the content. And when that presents a challenge in a group-wide setting, what we are doing is both teachers and in some cases paraprofessionals are placing those students in our electronic virtual world in what we're calling breakout rooms for additional support and some one-to-one individualization. Special education teams are also designing individualized instructional materials and resources for students with IEPs or those students that are suspected of having a disability. We have been calling this document the Good Faith Effort Continuity Learning Plan. So for all our students with whom the IEP may not be able to be fully implemented because we are not face-to-face and we may not be in a face-to-face environment for a 6.5-hour day, this document, the Good Faith Effort Continuity Learning Plan, is a document that helps monitor and identify the strategies and skill development, that we're utilizing in this virtual environment to ensure students with disabilities are receiving both their related services and their instructional services to the best of our capacity within the virtual environment. They're also being created visual schedules for children and family to ease access and timing of support services. One of the things that works extremely well with all students, and certainly students with disabilities, are what we call visual schedules. These are graphic representations of what will be occurring with students, and that visual schedules help students not only engage, but attend and transition from activity to activity. This is also very helpful for our families in the home environment to help parents and extended family members help students, again, not only attend, but transition from one activity to another. And then the other thing we have done is small group and individualized instruction towards IEP goals. This is something that we would engage in the face-to-face environment. And now in the virtual environment, we continue to do that and engage in both small group and individualized instruction, again, based upon the student's needs. And it also may be based upon a student's place and time. So on a particular day, a group setting may not be working effectively with the student. So that's when we'll break those students out into those breakout rooms, work with them individualized, and make sure that they're getting the skill support that they need. As far as some enhanced supports, we know, as we've said, that the virtual environment may present some challenges for all students. We do know that it presents some challenges for our students with disabilities. One of the things we have done since the very beginning of the school year is to provide social emotional learning opportunities, which has been designed by an excellent group of experts, psychologists, social workers, counselors, and intervention specialists. They have prepared social emotional learning opportunity for all students across the district, not just our special needs students, but for all students to have at least a daily activity where the primary focus is attending to students' social emotional skill set and making sure that we attend to that first and foremost before we even address instruction. Again, we're talking about one-to-one supplemental support, complementing class and small group work as needed. So as I mentioned, if the small group environment is not being successful for a student, the teacher runs through her lesson for the day and sees that for one particular student or maybe two particular students, it was not successful. Above and beyond what is required for the day, those teachers are dedicating some one-to-one supplemental support to enhance and engage those students and ensuring that they're developing that skill set that they need to be acquiring from the lesson or from the small group activity that may not have been successful for them. One of the things that the virtual environment has actually allowed us to do is something that we would not have had an opportunity to do in the face-to-face environment. And that's really being able to engage across the district of all students. Our adaptive physical education has really embraced this concept and is providing an opportunity for our students with special needs to engage in what they are having right now is a World Cup competition. So across our schools, we have several World Cup teams that have been able to interact with each other through the digital platform and are quote unquote competing with each other to see which teams can win our virtual World Cup of Adaptive Physical Education prize. Again, this is something the virtual environment has allowed us to do that we may not have done in the face-to-face. So we're encouraging all this innovation to be able to cross-communicate with students in other schools that we may not have in the past. One of the things this year has allowed us to do is increase our professional development of paraprofessionals, which continue to support and to connect to specifically to our online students and help them with engagement, support, and encouragement. And as we mentioned earlier on in our conversations, if at the very least that connection that we have with our students to make sure that they feel warm and welcome and part of our community environment. We also are having increased direct instruction, as Ms. Parks talked about, between our intervention specialists and families needing additional support. This is something that's not only happening with our general education population, as Ms. Parks talked about, providing alarm clocks to families of students that may not be engaged. They're also working closely with our students with special needs and reaching out to them and their families and seeking what they can do to help support, if there are any particular needs that families have, and what we can do, not only as intervention specialists, but the schools, their specific home school, and the district on the whole can help provide for them. As Ms. Parks mentioned, we have our AAPS Parent Guardian Support Groups. This was an initiative that was brought together by our fabulous and expertise school psychologists and social workers. And it is an opportunity for parents to connect together and find support in each other as we face the challenges of 2020. And this could be all the wide variety of challenges that we encounter. This is not exclusive to the virtual environment, but we will say that the impetus for this was understanding that parents need support in this virtual environment. It is every Tuesday. The Connecting Together support groups are every Tuesday from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. And they're also every Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. You can, on the front page of the website, find the registration here. One thing that we are looking to enhance on this is provide some bilingual groups as well. And we're working on developing and getting those bilingual groups up and running very, very shortly. The other thing that I wanted to point out, and we should have this on the main page of our website as well, are on-demand family supports. We have a website within a website designed for our families to help you help your children address all the wide variety of needs that they may have in the online at-home virtual environment. And you'll see it's ranging everywhere from academics to very specific areas of health and needs, physical fitness, communication and collaboration. All these things are things that we know that parents can be struggling with in the virtual environment. So our team of excellence and experts have helped develop this for strategies for our parents to help them help their students engage in this virtual environment. I am going to take the relay baton, I believe, and transition to Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Linden.
Thank you. Wouldn't you know, right at the moment you're transitioning, I'm getting that unstable internet message. So hopefully everything will continue as planned. Thank you so much. I have the pleasure of sharing with you some of the behind our online learning, our Reimagine planning for this fall. And I think you will see in this a lot of the values that this board represents, certainly that this district is working hard to achieve around equity. So the first piece of it really is about shaping the lens around culturally responsive teaching. What we knew and understood was that moving into a system that is shifting instruction to a completely online platform, we understood that there would be inequities, particularly if we did not address some really important things up front. So this work around shaping our lens and how we design our lessons through these 5 areas, these pillars, this is ongoing. We're never done. But it's important to share with the community that our work is to make sure that as our students enter that online classroom setting, that they feel significant and they feel valued in that environment, that they are able to participate with their full humanity. So this means teaching the whole child. This means being developmentally appropriate. It also means, in a very big way, focusing on the relationships. You heard Dr. Fedishin talk about this. You heard Ms. Parks talk about this. That focus on social emotional connection was a significant part of our fall Reimagine planning, and it's where the advisories and the morning meeting structures came from. And it's also representative of the hard work of the psychologists, the social workers, counselors, intervention specialists who have been preparing excellent and daily lessons for use in that advisory and morning meeting space. And we're committed to continuing that. We know that the mental health needs of our students and our families are significant. We continue to focus on these areas and to try to strengthen the relationships as we go. So hopefully you will see through the actions and some of the short videos coming evidence of this as we continue through the presentation. Another piece that we understood was that in an online setting, what we heard from our families in our surveys and in our conversations from March to June at the end of last school year was that it became difficult for families to stay on track and connected with multiple teachers, with multiple students, using different platforms and tools and apps, requiring lots of logins. And so we're very grateful to this board for the support of the adoption of Schoology. And I think it's important for us all to understand that when Schoology was launched, we did so from a place of equity. What we wanted in the launch of Schoology was a consistent and predictable pathway for learning for every student, pre-K through 12 in the district, particularly for secondary students who have multiple teachers, sometimes 6 different teachers. To move from course to course and not have a predictable way to participate would be an inequitable system. And so what you're seeing here is a standardized way that Schoology courses are set up in our district. You'll see a consistent location as students click into their courses for the calendar, so they can see what's coming, assignments that are due, etc. You'll see a consistent location here in the folders, very clearly labeled for assignments for each week of the learning, so that students can stay on track and that families know where to go. You will see up top here a coded area consistently for the daily folders so that they know which folder to click on and when. And probably most importantly, for that live interaction, the links and locations for those, whether it's a Zoom, a Google Meet, or a big blue button, the link for that is always in the same place every single day. So students don't have to look for it or get lost. These were important moves that we made up front. In the design of the lessons, you may recall that we started the school year with some prepared lessons so that our teachers could spend some time getting acclimated into Schoology, truly understanding elements of equitable instruction that are important in this online setting in particular. These elements are around universal design for learning and a focus on some protocols or teaching strategies called sheltered instruction observation protocols. It sounds really fancy. It really is the articulated moves we're seeing on the left-hand side here, that we're establishing clear objectives, that the lesson agenda is there and visible for students. You heard Dr. Fedishin talk about visible strategies and visible agendas. That piece about activating background knowledge and connecting learning to what students already come with, those funds of knowledge that every student has that may be unique to their culture and their personal experiences, activating that as a part of the learning process, being very clear about vocabulary, the interactions that need to happen, having multiple avenues for students to participate, to practice and apply what they're learning, certainly a review piece and a way for teachers to assess the level of learning that students have with the content. That's a daily piece of operation. Having that space for independent work and very clear pathways for them to get help and support. So, and we color-coded those and they're predictable in this way so that students always know where to go. Now we're rounding our 7th week now of instruction, and I think we feel pretty strongly that these pieces are solidly in place. We're never done with our equity work, and we can always work to be more engaging in our lessons. But I thought it would be important for us all to be aware of these foundational and key elements that we put in place from the beginning. So here's an example of a teacher. This is Ms. Stacy Green. I think Ms. Parks may know her well. She's a Tappan middle school 8th grade science teacher. And I'm going to show just a short clip. This is her introducing inertia, and you're going to hear her calling on a couple of students to respond with their thinking. It's just one part. This lesson is actually 20 minutes long, so if you want to watch the entirety, you're welcome to. I'll show just the first minute or so.
Min, could you maybe tell us why you said the heavier cart?
I said the heavier cart because, like, both of the carts will stay in place, but I kind of looked at it like if you take, like, a bit of wind and, like, the lighter one will probably move first because it's lighter.
Okay, so we've got another idea here similar to what Cooper just said about, like, the mass. One is lighter, one is heavier. All right, let's hear one more idea. Yayan, could you tell me, so you also said more inertia because it's heavier. Are you able to elaborate on that a little bit? Like, why do heavier things have more inertia? Or do you remember what inertia actually means about an object? Could you try to share out?
So my notes say, like, inertia makes, like, things stay where they are. And then it makes things also keep on doing what they're already doing. And because the cart's heavier, it's gonna move, and like Min said, like a little wind wouldn't just stop it, but the lighter cart would stop because it's lighter.
Okay, so yeah, we've got this idea of objects. Again, inertia is this idea that objects they don't really want because they don't have wants and feelings, but they have a resistance to changing their current motion. So if they're currently at rest, they stay at rest, and it requires some force to put them into motion. Objects that have more mass are going to have more inertia or more resistance. So on Tuesday, we talked about the need for an unbalanced force to change the object's motion. Today, what we're going to look at is specifically how these forces and how mass can impact an object's acceleration or its change in its motion. Okay, so good little warm up there. Let's look at our learning targets for this morning. Nicole, could I please have you do our top learning target in blue?
I can describe that the acceleration of an object will depend on its mass and the force applied to it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nicole. So yes, we're going to be explaining and being able to describe how those three variables, force, mass, and acceleration, are all kind of intertwined and related to one another. All right, Kendon, could you do our bottom learning target, please?
I can apply real life examples of I can't even pronounce that.
Newton?
Newton's second law and justify my choice.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So trustees and community, you get a sense of what an introductory lesson would be. They had a little bit of it yesterday. They're digging in deeper today. If we were to go into this lesson a little further, you would see a lot of review, a lot of visuals, and there are certainly quite a lot of opportunities for people to share their work and talk. I wish we had all the time in the world to celebrate Ms. Stacy Green and her wonderful work. She is just one of many in the district who work really, really hard to make these online lessons engaging. This is another example from science. This is one way that students share their thinking. So this is a sticky note app, and students are putting up their thinking on their sticky notes. They're posting up what they notice and what they wonder about new material. And it may look like scribbles, but what you're actually seeing are check marks of agreement. So as they're reading these, if they share that noticing or that wondering, they're going through and reading each other's work and putting a check mark, validating what each other have said. This is just one small strategy that teachers use to engage students in the learning. And here we have Ms. Tiara Jackson, teacher at Logan Elementary School. Ms. Jackson was featured in one of our AAPS news stories, so you may have seen a clip of this already. But if you haven't, it's worth a quick look. We'll just look at about 20 or 30 seconds of Ms. Tiara Jackson. Here we have the benefit of her being filmed in her home, so you can see her whole setup and what this teacher is doing to engage her students.
Okay, so now when I look at 348 on this number line, Jackson, is it closer to 300 or 400? Tavion, look at your number line too. Is it close to 300 or 400?
It's close to 300.
It's closer to 300. The jump is closer, so I'm going to circle 300 on my number. I am very blessed to have girls who have grown to be independent, because I don't know how I would manage it if I had to kind of stop and help them throughout the way. During last week when they were having the Zoom glitches with middle school, I had to kind of stop and help Jasmine get on, but I would just tell my kids, hold on 1 second, I'll be right back, or and they would talk amongst themselves or just kind of chat with each other, or talk about what we were talking. They would continue the conversation without me while I went to help her. And so again, like I said, the kids are like technical wizards. They know how to do it all, and so I would help her get on or find her email, and then I would come right back to the class. I don't know how other single parents are doing it. I don't know how parents who are teachers are doing it. I don't know how parents who are single parents and teachers are doing it. But you just take it one day at a time. So one of the things I did was, as soon as I got their Zoom links from their teachers, I created a doc for them and a schedule.
So I'll pause it there. And part of the reason we're sharing this is it's an acknowledgement that we hear from our families, and we hear the struggles that folks have at home. Our own teachers have that too. So we have a dual purpose today, is showing all the hard work and the ingenuity and creativity of teachers and shifting to online, while recognizing there are significant challenges that exist. And so our work is to celebrate what hard work and what creativity and amazing collaborative design is happening with these lessons, and also at the same time to acknowledge we still have work to do in engaging and supporting while we're online, and we will never stop doing that. So appreciate you bearing with us while we look at that. A quick update around technology. To date, we have distributed 16,650 devices and 348 hotspots. In addition, we have helped 18 families to receive free internet through the Comcast Essential Sponsorship Connections program. And for those of you who are not aware, this program is reduced price internet. AAPS covers the cost of $10 a month for qualified families, so that the families pay nothing. That's really significantly important here when we talk about our equity work and what we are trying to do to ensure that all of our students have access. So if you are a family member who does not have internet and you need support with that, we just want to encourage you to please call the help desk at 734-997-1222. We have a specific tech specialist, Jason Kitchen, who is skilled at helping students to sign up. He actually helps fill out paperwork and get families into that. He is at work with families Monday through Thursday from 1 to 7:30, and also Fridays from 1 to 5. But if families call that help desk outside of that time period, they will get help and assistance. And we just want to encourage all of our families who need that service to please let us know. And this is also an important opportunity for me to recognize the work of Dr. Heather Kellstrom and the entire IT team. This is monumental work, and it is ongoing. And here we have another bit of excitement. So trustees, you will recall you supported the purchase of a tool called Upbeat for our fine arts, vocal and instrumental music teams. And we are just so grateful that you did. So this is an example of how the Upbeat Music app is being used. What you'll see here is Dr. David Leach of Pioneer, and he has provided us with a small sectional. So these are breakout French horn players who have spent time together in a breakout working on their musical score. And while they practice together and discuss together in a Zoom breakout, they then go into the Upbeat app to record their pieces. The Upbeat app then syncs them together so they can actually hear themselves playing together. And then the sections will meet back. Clarinets, flutes, French horns will all meet back, and they will observe each other's work. And Dr. David Leach can then feather the pieces all together for a full performance. So this work is ongoing. You'll recall the app was purchased just a few weeks ago. Already the teams are adept at using them. So soon we'll be hearing about performances that are upcoming and being planned. So we will be sure and keep you all posted. So let's take a listen and see how the French horns are doing. I'd want to keep listening, but we'll roll on if that's okay, and it is linked up there for your listening pleasure. In the next slide, we'd like to show you just one of the many responses that we hear from families, and at the same time we hear about challenges. I think it's also important to share some of the good things that are going on. This is one such quote. So this parent wrote in about Pioneer Band and said, and I'll read it, "I just wanted to write and thank you for supporting the online band programming that's currently happening. My son is at Pioneer and is loving it, to say the least. I am so happy because he was considering dropping band and is now more committed than ever to his instrument and to continuing with band. His older brother had such a positive experience in the Pioneer Band program, so I'm very happy that he is also continuing despite the unique circumstance. I dare say that this change in learning style reinvigorated his love of music. Thank you again. I know it was a big undertaking for all." So thank you, trustees, for your support of the purchase of this app. It is making a difference in the experiences that our fine arts students are having. Here's another piece that I think is really important to bring back to you for regular updates, because trustees, you also supported the purchase of both Renaissance Mayan and the Sora digital library collections. So these two slides we're about to see are just a quick update of the implementation of those tools. You may recall Renaissance Mayan is our elementary aged guided reading tools. These are books that students can check out at their level. They're also primarily used in small group reading instruction. And so to date, all 22 of our elementary buildings, that includes 2 K-8s, have logged in and are regularly using it daily. We have 8,297 students using the program and 694 faculty members. And to date, as of yesterday morning, 23,734 books had been finished since the implementation of Mayan. That represents 6,285 hours and 18 minutes of time spent reading. And I'm very excited to share with you that our next steps are to bring the preschool program on board. That will be at a cost of about $800. And for that small price, we can purchase preschool developmentally appropriate book titles for use with our 3 and 4-year-olds. So we're really excited, and I look forward to bringing you an update soon about the preschool. Next, could not be more excited on behalf of Ms. Jennifer Colby and the librarians across the district, as well as our ELA teachers, that Sora, our digital library, is now live. It is available. It has been rolled out directly through ELA classrooms to all middle schoolers, and it will be rolled out directly to students at all levels over the coming days. Our amazing, and I mean amazing, librarians and ELA teachers are responsible for that rollout, and they're absolutely excited. I cannot even express to you. So families will soon be able to access from home. We're going to have a video so we can show families exactly how to do that. It's very, very simple. So we just dropped a quick screenshot in here. You'll see just a few books that are on this main screen. And if a student were to look up a topic or an interest, they will get a list just like you would at any public library in a digital system. And it's as simple as clicking borrow. And it's that easy. They will then have that book to read. And as we have talked about before, the really great thing about this is that when the book is due, it's automatically returned. So students don't have to worry about losing it. Again, I just want to thank the librarians and the ELA teachers, particularly at secondary level, who've been curating this collection, putting in countless hours, making sure that it's a diverse collection, representative of diverse authors. It's another piece of our equity commitment that we are living up to, and we will continue to work toward and build more robust systems like this. And I will turn this back to Ms. Jazz Parks to bring it home.
Trustees and community, as I talked about a few minutes ago when we were talking about some of the outreach efforts with our students and our families, our most important priority right now is making sure that we are reaching out to families and being flexible around supporting your needs. And that's going to continue to remain our goal. So we invite you to stay in close communication with us and with your students' school teams, your teachers, your administrators, because we are here to be a help and a support. Again, using those flexible learning pathways to be able to best meet the needs of all of our students.